dropped it.
And Vedi, on camera, man.
Welcome back.
You can't just crouch down to pick up your hand warmer.
Well, my hands are cold. Well, I mean, you know.
For context, he was throwing it and then he missed it and it dropped. So he actually dropped it.
Because you needed that context.
Yeah,
I think that is important context.
Welcome back.
Simple task.
We're just waiting for the pros to get back on stage. About to jump into game 2 of this best of 5 between G2 and Rogue. It was a bit of a stomp, game 1. G2 looking confident, looking like a cut above the rest. Of course, we've seen stomps in game 1 before to then have teams immediately bounce back in game 2. There's a lot that can be learned from game 1 drafts, especially if Rogue now take this opportunity to go onto the blue side and perhaps look to first pick the Azir themselves.
We saw the same thing in the G2 Misfits series, right? Big stomp from G2. Misfits then take blue side, I believe it was, and then big stomp from Misfits. So can't count Rogue out yet, but G2 definitely look a cut above for now as the players return to the stage for their second game.
Is a cut above just our phrase for the day?
Yeah.
All right.
How many times have I said it?
You've used it twice and Vedi's used it once.
Has he used it twice? Okay, I'll think of something else.
Okay. In the upper echelon.
Okay, whoa, wow. Didn't even know that word existed, but it sounds cool.
It does. That's most of what I say as a caster. Just
say
things
cool
that sound cool that aren't really relevant to anything.
Just
The
like
catchphrase that always sticks in my head is, do you remember Silic Bang?
Bang! And the enemy's gone.
There was a banger UK advert for Washington.
The gorilla one with the chocolate.
Yeah. Obviously, we're just waiting for the players to get back on stage and we'll get into draft as soon as possible. We've talked about Azir priority. Is there anything else you guys think needs to be switched up in the draft in this game?
I think the desk was highlighting a little bit of Targamas' performance on Senna, right? And I think Senna is always a dangerous one because of how much flexibility it provides to G2. You can play a Senna Seraphine, you can play a Senna Tam, you can play a Senna Sion, you can play a Senna Yasuo. I think G2 are the one team in Europe right now who I think have the most diversity when it comes to bot lane draft, which then helps your top side out so much more because you can either drop your bot side to 4-5 or you can pick it early and then get one of the prio picks like the Senna and match things into the Lucian Nami or these Lulu lanes that other teams can't do right now.
True. I mean, that's also not where the flexibility stops, right? Let's not forget the Caps can play anything and everything in mid. It was he who actually played a Nivea at MSI. We've also seen the Yone in top lane. Let's see what concoction, that's not how you pronounce that word, G2 can go up with as we get into the draft for game 2.
Sounded cool though.
G2 on the red side this time, Rogue electing to be blue. There's the Jarvan ban from Rogue, respecting the fact that Jankos can bring that out. Obviously, Poppy taken away as well by G2. I wonder if we'll see Draven Callista removed by these two teams, or whether we'll see things totally change up from game 1.
Twitch Prime Caedrel, love that guy in the crowd. Good sign.
I'm sorry, you have to start paying for when, like, if we comment on it, that's fine, but if you just point out...
have to make sure it's seen, but you're completely right. The Jarvan ban with the Sejuani ban signals to me that that's going to be maybe a Sivir first pick, maybe an Azir first pick. Trundle is still up, Kalista is still up. A lot of overpowered picks in the current meta are available. And don't forget that BrokenBlade is the one who's been playing a lot of Sejuani. We haven't even seen Jankos Sejuani yet, so they're definitely happy to pick that as a flex. There's the Azir. I think Rogue have already made a good choice from the get-go. You can't drop that Azir prio.
Well, watch G2 now respond with an early rotation on the Ahri. Last game, we saw Rogue prioritizing both the Sejuani and the Lulu. With the Sejuani gone, I don't think G2 really need to prioritize the Lulu because, well, Yuumi is still up. So they could just get themselves Yuumi something if they want to. But it looks like they're going to stick with the Senna for now.
They could pick Senna and something like Trundle here for Jankos or some kind of jungler, drop AD till 3, keep the Senna lane a mystery in terms of what they want to pick. You know, if then they Rogue respond with Sivir Yuumi on 2-3, then of course you can go for that Yasuo on 3 if G2 have the confidence to do so. There's a lot of question marks right now with G2's draft. You could flex a Renekton here right now as well because it's really big bot lane. How much they value countering jungle or blinding jungle? How much they value countering the AD carry pool? It's going to be Jankos' Wukong for now, expecting AD on 3 in terms of like what will pair with Senna, or Caps' Sylas perhaps.
Or the Ahri that Vedi mentioned. Obviously, it's still a possibility. Rogue here, I mean, if you look at it just from their side of the draft, Zeri Yuumi, Sivir Yuumi is like so powerful. Like give Comp something that he can carry on, team it up with the Yuumi, who is probably the best enchanter support right now.
Or Yuumi Ornn could work really well here as well. Senna notoriously kind of not the strongest AD carrier taking down front lines, and Odoamne might just go for that comfort pick here. You can drop AD here. Zeri, Sivir, Ezreal, there's 3 ADs that you could opt into.
Jinx, Aphelios.
Yeah, Jinx, Vedius, not the best within a mobile AD carry, Yuumi, but still works very well, I think, depending on the bot matchup. But I think Ornn here as well could be good for Rogue. Just go full scaling. Trundle as well could work to make sure you have an early game bridge to that mid to late game. Picking AD for me here doesn't feel necessary because you're falling into G2's trap of, we want you to pick AD, we're going to counter it. Renekton for Odoamne, not going to go for the Ornn.
You hate that pick, don't you? I feel like you hate that pick. Just say you hate it.
Sometimes.
Just do you hate the pick right
I
now?
have a Renekton. No, I love that pick.
You
do.
love it?
I genuinely do.
Yeah.
Genuinely
I'm not a fan
lover.
of the blind Renekton. I mean, I understand why it's strong
In this
meta,
context, maybe not
but
so
I
much.
prefer the Ornn. I think that the Ornn made way
Yeah.
more sense when you were talking me through it. The logical made sense to me, especially when you have the Yuumi. The thing that I think they were lacking last game was engage. I think that when you're so reliant on just the Sejuani, having more engage tools is only a good thing. So by bringing in the Ornn, you would solve that problem. You'd have much easier access onto the backline, and then you could follow that up with something like a Trundle that would only further facilitate the Ornn. So yeah, I think I would have preferred an Ornn here.
I think you're right as well. I think what Rogue were probably saying in comps, if I pick Ornn here, they're going to go Aatrox on 3 and we might fall into a similar hole where topside's just really lost, or a Gwen. And we don't have a strong enough jungler because we don't pick it in the 1-2-3, right? So they're going to ban away things like the Trundle, maybe even things like the Skarner, any kind of early game champ that Malrang can get his hands on and make it so topside is lost. So they want to solidify a winning top matchup on paper. The only worry I have for them now is you're going to get a pretty weak jungler when you need that bridge to the mid to late game.
I think that G2 have just cracked the code on the answer to Yuumi, which is Senna Seraphine. Because one of the problems with just running Seraphine, like I have seen some comps where it's Seraphine Nautilus, for example. The problem with that is that you just get outscaled by the sheer damage that a Zeri and a Sivir can output in the late game. But when you combine that with the Senna, and then when you see Targamas doing like the same damage per minute as a traditional AD carry is, you know that this comp is only going to continue to scale while also just having great utility. You then have the Engage come out from Jankos. They're going to bring the Aatrox out once again as an answer to the Renekton. And it feels like the G2 just have the formula to answer in this meta. The question is, how will they respond to the Azir that has now come out from Rogue?
I think they just slam a Sylas here, and I think G2 are sitting pretty happy with the way that their comp's going to function into Rogues, because Sivir short range, take away Zinzao, buy time, 3 melees with a Senna Seraphine, very good front to back, unless they want something like a Talia or a Ryze that can impact sides a bit more, maybe to cover more so than actually make plays of their own. When we saw them try to cover top lane last game, BB on the Aatrox under a little bit of pressure from the Sejuani Renekton. Does Caps want to have to cover his team? Does he want to mage?
Huh?
It's Seraphine mid. Varus, Senna support.
No, it's Varus mid.
Varus mid? You think it's the AP Varus build?
No, it's going to be Lethality Varus mid, I think. I've seen Caps' solo queue. He has been playing a little bit of Varus mid. Now, I'm going to hold my breath for a second because he has been playing it, but the question is, will he play it here on stage?
Okay, boys, you're going to have to update me because I haven't seen any Varus anywhere on the planet.
We'll wait to see where it goes, but back when I was a mid laner, Varus mid was the counter to Azir because you just poke him through lane.
Sure.
And it becomes so difficult when he gets rated Dirk to actually start pushing back.
I remember that, yeah.
It looks like it is going to be the Varus mid for Caps. I wonder what build he's going to go. I expect some kind of lethality, maybe towards tier, and then get that early serrated Dirk and poke out this Azir on mid waves. The problem you have with Varus mid is you're very immobile. So one Azir shuffle, you're dead. You lose your flash, you can't contest the push, but Caps been playing it in solo queue, and it's a notorious, I don't want to say counter to Azir, but the champions that do well into Azir are ranged. So Seraph, Vel'Koz, Varus with lethality on his Q-max.
I will say, first Varus mid in a major region this year. So, good to know.
You were just talking about the Anivia.
I mean, we were talking about how, like, G2 have a lot of flexibility outside of just the bot lane. Like, the fact that they can play all these different champs in mid
I
and
think
top.
it's AP Varus mid, man. I agree with, like, lethality does work, but AP Varus has been, like, sleeper for a long time. We talked to the dev team before MSI, and they were saying AP Varus is actually slept on. It's AP Varus mid, man. I'm looking forward to this so much.
It's AP Varus mid.
Nashers, it's game 2. Rabadons, it's game 2. Let's go!
Okay, listen up. I've got Caps' solo queue on my screen right now.
We've got the tech.
He's going to play Hail of Blades Varus mid.
Yeah, Hail of Blades.
With Doran's Blade starts. And he's going to go Nashor's Tooth first item. And then he's going to go Riftmaker Rabadons, Zhonya's.
Yeah. So that looks like he's doing exactly what he does.
So his mythic will be Riftmaker, and he will rush Nashers.
Alright, so for people that don't know why AP Varus mid can work, his W was turned into an active a long time ago. So it's when you proc the stacks you build up on an enemy, you use your W to help proc them, right? So you press your W, then you use your Q, and when the Q hits, it procs all the stacks. That has a 2.5% per 100 AP target max health scaling. So if you have 200 HP, you're doing 5% of the target's max health plus the 5% you get base from the ability.
So hang on, run me through what it is without the stacks. How much damage are we looking without the stacks?
So it's 5% target max HP from the W.
And then you get even more
you
depending on how many stacks.
You get 2.5% per 100 AP.
And then, but what about the blight
with
stacks
more
as
stacks?
well?
Oh my goodness,
you see what I'm saying?
It's up to a maximum of like 21% of the target's missing health.
We're in for a treat, is all I'm going to say, boys, because this is going to be a very interesting game. It was back in Season 5, Season 6, when this was the answer to Azir. You play things like, I don't know, remember what the rune was at the time, but imagine a Comet version where you would just poke him from long range.
Yes, it was Comet, you're right, you're completely right.
You just max Q, keep the Azir in the tower, and you just...
Well,
it's hard for Azir to gap
There
close.
was a window with which Varus just kind of sucked, and then it got to like level 6 or level 7 when he's got 3 points in his Q, and then he just one-shots the wave, and he just... You can't rival his poke. It works in the same way that like Vel'Koz is an answer to Azir, and Xerath, as you rightly mentioned. They basically just out-poke and they outrange the Azir in the laning phase.
And he has minion dematerializer as well, so I wonder if he's going to use that on the backline to get that one shot on the Q-Max. We'll see what happens, but Varus will have good wave clear and really good setup with the ult as well. I think the most important thing for me so far in the series is Azir, right? You know, G2 get Azir on blue side, they first pick, they win. Game 2, Rogue first pick Azir, this is G2's response. If this works for G2, Rogue are going to have to go back to the drawing board and come up with something extremely creative. And if it doesn't work for G2, Rogue might have cracked their pocket pick into Azir, and this series is about to get extremely interesting. You know, so we'll keep our eyes on mid.
It reminds me, you know, we were joking about it before, but I was talking to Caedrel about how one of my favorite casts of all time was the SKT versus G2 MSI semi-final, where they brought out Pyke top lane. And of course, they were known for bringing out Pyke and being flexible with it, but sometimes that single pick can almost be meta-defining, right? In a way that it becomes problematic, and if teams can't even learn to pick it up, then it's something that you have to respect when playing against G2. And we saw it at MSI recently with the whole Anivia pick, right?
Yep.
It became a problem for teams because they didn't know how to deal or answer it.
And look at what's happened to Larssen in the mid lane already. Camps has forced him out, he used both his potions now, he goes back, he gets some boots and a pot, and will TP back into the lane. That's someone that is down. Caps is going to recall and then just be able to walk back into the lane. He can, of course, TP in if he wants that little bit of prio as well.
So what does he buy on first base? I expect he's going towards Nashers, so maybe some kind of AP or daggers. He's going to go Darksteel or Refillable. I'm really excited to see this AP Varus damage when he hits the ult and gets his full combo off. But now it's on Malrang. Can Malrang shut this Varus down? He has good setup for it, right? You're playing Zhao. If you can get on top of Varus, he is dead. If you can shuffle him once and get his flash, he can never contest his push. He does have his weaknesses, but for now it looks like Cap's in a pretty comfortable position. He just needs Jankos around mid a lot of the time to give him some vision to work with.
Yeah, Caedrel, if you could highlight that ward for me just in the top side river, you can see that Jankos is just doing a good job of basically just keeping an eye in terms of that vision, and you can see the observers highlighting it for us as well. These wards are super important in terms of making sure that Caps is in a safe position, but also to allow him to play aggressively as he wants. They do have push on the bot side of the map, which should give them access to that crab too. But G2, the only lane that they're struggling in right now is the top lane. Very similar to what we saw last game. Odoamne does have controller in the 1v1, as you expect in the isolated 1v1 matchup at early levels. So far, we haven't been able to see much early game action from Malrang. He did hover around mid looking for an opportunity. But as much as we are excited about Caps on this Varus, so far in the early game, the gold is dead even. Nothing too chaotic has happened. We're just starting to see these CS discrepancies build up in bot lane, mid lane, and top lane for each respective team.
And that battle between the junglers is one that we've had our eyes on coming into this series and one that we had our eyes on in game one. Both these... A couple of the top junglers in our league. Depends, you know, whether you put Elioyo above them, but I'd say top 3 for both Jankos and Malrang. Malrang had a couple of good ganks in game 1, but struggled to really have an impact as the game went on, whereas Jankos here just constantly trying to track him. You can see another control ward down, the wards on the top side of the river as well, making it hard for Malrang to find his avenues to approach.
Yeah, a lot of fantastic junglers in the Razork doing so well on Fnatic
true.
as well. But yeah, I mean, these two junglers getting to know each other very well this year, it seems, as Rogue and G2 go against each other in these best of 5s, of course. I'll hold my thought for a second as Malrang finds Jankos.
He's going to jump into Caps as well. Really good engage. Caps has to flash away. Jankos looking for a bit of damage. Malrang forced away Flashes the piercing arrow as well. That was smart. I think that would have been enough damage to take him down.
Trade Flash actually benefits Rogue in this scenario because Larssen will have set up at 6. Caps will have set up as well, but Larssen will have the flash to respond, right? So now mid lane has just become really volatile. Two champions that maybe don't interact that much because of their range and how they want to scale, but in terms of kits to avoid ganks, Caps doesn't have anything left now. He just needs to sit under his tower and give up the push. He doesn't even have TP. I think he might even need Jankos to come towards mid so he can catch this wave, because if Larssen slow stacks this, he could solo kill him at 6 now.
6. Jankos hovering around. Ward drop, so Larssen has information. Caps now getting level 6 does make the dive that much harder. But overall, really good play from Malrang. He really forced that gank. He ran over 2 control wards and he still ran into mid lane. I think his main goal was to help Larssen actually push in the wave so they can get it underneath the tower so that Larssen can get a better base off. But it ends up benefiting Rogue way better than they initially planned. And overall, a good use of the W to force the flash out from Caps. So well played by Rogue. The gold continues to be dead even. The bot lane's struggling a little bit in the 2v2 matchup. Comp with a slightly shorter range. Difficult to be able to challenge, but now Malrang has his eyes on another gank.
Comp with a good spell shield. It's going to get rooted though. Heal coming out from Trymbi. Looking for that shield as well. Malrang with the flank position here. Targamas stepping forward. He's ignited, has flash heal. Will he be able to get away? Malrang looking for Flakked instead. Targamas pops the heal to try and get away. The root coming out. Last embrace. Trymbi. We've got a prowling projectile.
Yes,
Flakked has to flash away. Targamas still has the flash. Do you pop the honey fruit? He manages to get away anyway.
That's so much miscommunication from Rogue there. I think they got a bit greedy and Malrang said, okay, this Senna's probably dead. I'll go for Seraphine and get her flash, but they could have just taken the free kill there. Rogue blundered a bit. Yes, they got all their summoners out, but that should have been first blood.
It certainly should have been. I agree with you, Caedrel. Overall, Rogue made a bit of a blunder there. Still, small advantage gain for them. Won't net any significant gold advantage. On the cross map, you can see Jankos stealing away these top camps. The pings have already come down from Malrang. He said, yeah, my jungle camps have gone. Perhaps there's a window here where he could go for the blue, but of course the risk is with Flakked and Targamas coming back out onto the map where they can interrupt him. So instead, for the time being, he's just going to secure his reds, and Jankos is going to get a small win in the jungle matchup.
Yeah, good play by Jankos, trying to punish Malrang on the other side of the map. He's hit level 6 now. If he can blow Larssen's flash, that'll help Caps out a hell of a lot when it comes to this laning phase. He's got Targamas to cover him. He's playing with compliments with the jungle support around. Herald up in 20. Jankos is going to base, go towards his red, and look to slot that up, I imagine. I mean, we saw last game both supports roaming topside for 4v4s, but the only problem that Rogue have now is they have a Yuumi. So Trymbi needs to join someone if he's going to go for those 4v4s. So for now, G2 should have the numbers advantage topside. We'll keep our eyes on Targamas as this early game continues.
Caps' flash already 2/3 of the way back off cooldown. Haven't really been able to punish that too much. Has meant that he has to play a bit safer in the lane. It means that you see Targamas shadowing him a little bit here just in case something happens, but it's able to survive without that summoner for a while. Flakked forced away here, but Seraphine very good at long-range farming. The wave not in the best of states for him, as Comp and Trymbi will cull it just a little bit, but that wave is actually going to start bouncing back towards G2 because of Comp's auto attacks there. So for the moment, G2 very happy with that state of affairs down towards the bottom side of the map.
See Targamas with the rotation up. Means that G2 do have the numbers advantage, but the pings are coming down from Rogue. They want to be able to contest. Caps looking to get the push in mid, and here they go.
Caps still no flash. Malrang looking for him. Chain of corruption goes down. Malrang with the knocker though, and Caps nowhere to go. First blood over the Rogue.
There's the weakness of Varus mid. Super immobile, and against the Azir, it's good on range, but you can get punished quite easily. Jankos will secure this Herald for G2 in the meanwhile, so punishing G2 while they're on an objective is good, but Jankos still gets the objective he came for. First blood to the Azir though will sting a bit as the champ scales so well. Jankos will just catch this wave as Caps TV's back as I say that.
Larssen got saved a little bit by the
We've all been the support in that situation. You throw out your hook, you throw out your last embrace, able to just dodge to the side of it because it's tanked up by a minion. BrokenBlade trading with Odoamne up towards the top side, but the minion wave will dissuade him from any further action.
Good stare down there by Odoamne. There was a threat of a Q flash from BrokenBlade, the way he just Qs on top of himself, but Odo doesn't flinch, doesn't decide to flash. And I guess another piece of good news for G2 is Trymbi and Comp were in bots 2v1 for the last minute and a half while Targamas has been roaming, but they just can't punish the Seraphine. They have no dive pressure. Yes, they can push her in, but Flakked's even in gold right now, so they've gone from Herald towards a Dragon, and they're going to secure 2 neutral objectives before 10 minutes, despite losing that first blood.
G2 is chilling right now. They know that they scale really well, and overall, we're going to look back at this play. I'm sure Larssen would have loved to have gotten Targamas in there as well, given that he had no summoners. This could have been an easy double kill, but they'll take the kill onto Caps. We talked so much about this Varus in the mid, the weaknesses that the champ does have. Caps' flash is now back up though, still ahead in CS, a little bit behind in terms of gold. But G2, given that they secured the Herald, they secured the Dragon, they're chilling. The top lane matchup hasn't really been punished on the side of Rogue, which means that BrokenBlade is going to continue to scale up. Flakked has not been punished. He's in fact ahead in CS, even though he's in a 2 versus 1. Likely has a small experience advantage as well. Level 6s have come out all across the board with no real objective on the map to play for. It's unlikely that we'll see any big fights in the near future. You just have to keep your eyes on what Jankos wants to do with this Rift Herald. Where will he look to put it? Will they look to try and throw it down mids to try and make it weaker to be able to siege against an Azir? Perhaps they want to make a rotation up to one of the side lanes to try and open that up and then unlock one of their side lanes onto the rest of the map. Jankos has a lot of freedom and options here, depending on what they want to do.
Very slow game indeed, but we know that games like this always explode out of nowhere. We saw it last time from G2 in game 1, where one pick just leads to so many towers because of the pace that they have on the map, the tempo that they have on the map. Right now, it's very even. Odo's looking for Jankos.
Jankos has flash and should have the decoy here as well. Pops a Cyclone to try and get away. Will be able to get to the Blast Cone and escape back towards his crux. Second Cyclone doesn't really do too much.
Yeah, but now they have some pressure topside. Malrang's going to run up here and try to cut off BrokenBlade, maybe force some kind of dive. Trymbi's joined up with his jungler. Now that leaves Comp alone on an island on this bot side, so he can't actually catch the wave. For now, it looks like he's been minute zoned away. Are they going to dive this?
BrokenBlade pops the World Ender immediately. They back away, realizing they don't want to dive it any further. That's the ultimate down for the G2 top laner. He'll back away now, knowing that his World Ender will be on cooldown. He puts a ward near where the Krugs are, so he can stay around. He knows Malrang has left the vicinity.
Yeah, loses the ult, not the end of the world, and Comp will just catch this bot wave. It looks like G2 don't have any dive pressure, and it just allows Malrang to run from top to mid, and now he's running bot. Targamas has sums up, but he's kind of running around the map right now, Malrang. Maybe they can look for a shovel here.
Ooh. They could look for it, but Caps holds on to the flash, doesn't even get caught.
Wow, Caps ice in his veins. Knew exactly the limits of that Azir ult, doesn't even hesitate.
Impressive stuff, because if nothing else, Larssen just wants his flash, right? He'll trade the ult for the flash any day of the week. But Caps, very confident. Of course, he has been having a phenomenal playoff, similar to what we saw from him last split. Now G2 have their eyes on top lane. Great wave clear from Odoamne. The Herald will be dropped. They will funnel a little bit of gold. Keeping my eyes on Malrang right now. He's hovering on the top river, and Jankos immediately going to disengage from that one. No way for Odoamne to be able to get the kill.
I think the eye opened up again. If he just didn't actually auto-attack and had an auto-buffer ready, maybe could have stopped that, but regardless, there's the plays over G2. And like you said, Vedius, Malrang was around to try and punish. Trymbi's going to go back towards the bot side.
Comp realizes he doesn't...
That's annoying.
Can't be in the shop anymore, is able to get away though. And guys, it has been a slow game, and it feels like both teams are very happy with the game in this sort of state. You know, Comp is scaling up on this Sivir. He's building up towards that Mythic. If he can get a couple of items under his belt with a Yuumi on his shoulders, he can shred through team fights. But how do we feel those team fights are going to go? Because in the last game, Rogue had a strong AD carry, but we're never really able to get close enough to G2. Do you think that's going to happen again here?
Well, I'm still concerned about Rogue's engage. Some key differences are Sivir's ultimate. The additional movement speed will make it easier to close the gap. Malrang is slightly more reliable in terms of his engage compared to a Sejuani, because Sejuani's ultimate can miss. But I still prefer overall G2's comp when it comes to team fighting. I think that each of their champions scale incredibly well relative to their opposition. I feel like they have so much utility, they have so much range still, and they have so much, they have CC, I guess is the word, at their disposal. That I think that the fights will just inherently be harder for Rogue. I'm happy to be proven wrong based on how Rogue play these team fights, but I'm a lot more confident in G2's comp as we get later on into the game.
40 seconds on that Dragon. Maybe we see a glimpse of those team fights to come. BrokenBlade's going to force Odo back. He's going to TP back up to that top lane and catch the wave. Mythic's now being complete across the board. Nashor's Tooth on Caps. First items for everyone. Malrang's building a little bit of everything, going towards that Kempunk Chain Sword. Of course, they have got a little bit of healing, and the item has good stats for its cost, despite the changes in the nerfs and the increase in cost. G2 setting up bot side vision around this Dragon. They want to secure this and play for the soul. See if Rogue want to respond though, because no TP's top means it would be a 4v4, and Comp gonna crash this bot wave. G2 on the way down.
It's a cannon wave, so G2 should be able to get here in time. Flakked can use the beat drop to clear out a bit of the wave at least, and then can catch the rest of it as it pushes forward. And it does look like Rogue wants to take this fight from G2. Already started up that Dragon. Jankos gonna pull it out.
BrokenBlade first to move. Rogue just have to pull this off. I don't think they can take this fight. The second they see BrokenBlade on mid-wave, I think they're just going to have to back away. Unless they can get a smite and get out quickly, the longer the fight goes on, the worse it is for Rogue.
Looking for the audacious charge forward. Don't take it. G2 with their second Dragon of the game. 15 minutes in, it's 1-0, but G2 with those early stacking drakes, or mid-timed stacking drakes. Not the earliest, but they're okay, you know. They'll be 25 minutes or so.
Good play by G2, yeah, but Rogue, no cross-map, no Herald start, no vision topside, no threat of a top dive, so they just kind of watched him take the dragon.
It feels a bit muted from Rogue sometimes. Like, it's like they kind of did Cinema League of Legends for a while. They're like, okay guys, grab your popcorn, grab your Maltesers, get yourself a shake. We're just gonna watch them take this dragon for a couple of minutes. Trailers were good.
Yeah.
I hear cap stars in this one, guys.
They're writing the ratings while they're rating.
1 out of 10 wouldn't get dragon taken from me again.
The only bright side for Rogue is that now they have, well, they get to be first on the Rift Herald, but Flakked has TP. Of course, it is awakened now because we passed the 14-minute mark. But you already see the TP into the mid lane, which means that the collapse is already coming through from G2. Rogue is trying to attack the flank in BrokenBlade, and it looks like they're going to get it.
Flash in, move this Predator, stun, and BrokenBlade down. Rogue with a great pick there, Caps, though, trying to close off here. Jankos going for comp, good spell shield from comp, no Cyclone used. G2 could still look to try and battle this one. Rift Herald taken, though, by Rogue, means that Jankos won't be there in time to contest, and Rogue will get their first neutral objective of the game.
No hesitation from Rogue there. Yes, they may have been sloppy in cross maps and trying to contest objective that they had no business in doing, but decisive around the objective they do decide to go for. Jankos. Now Rogue need to defend mid.
Malrang, Crescent Guard, trying to get out. Blast Cone used as well. Malrang will flash. Charm coming out across 2 members as Odoamne will fall. Flakked takes him. It was Jankos waiting in the bush that caught Rogue unaware.
Every time we see a good play from Rogue, we see a better one from G2. They had control over the mid wave. They knew that they had numbers advantage, given that Larssen had rotated up towards top, and then Jankos very cleverly sits in this bush waiting for the rest of Rogue to collapse. It was looking a little bit sketchy initially, but he always had the flash. He knew he had the utility provided by Flakked and Targamas, which meant they were able to get that kill onto Odoamne, and that top lane tower still has not fallen.
No towers are fallen just yet on either side. Top tower extremely low for both sides. Caps and Larssen going to match each other towards that top side as both teams try to get some top side vision to ensure the push. Herald in Rogue's favor. They can use it on any of these towers to break that first brick.
It's a strange one because, as you rightly said, the gold is pretty much even, the kills are pretty much even, but it feels like that G2 are just finding more advantages on the map. And like, this was a great play from Rogue. They do convert this into the Herald, but then look at how G2 respond. They force comp back. They know that he's basically isolated underneath this tower, and G2 with the pressure that they have in mid, and Jankos cleverly positioning himself right here, means that they're able to force this fight and come out on top. And again, it's one of those situations where every time Rogue is doing something or making something happen, it always feels like G2 is just getting that bit more elsewhere on the map.
Found a projectile here onto Caps. There's the final chapter. Caps has to flash away. Chain of Corruption used in case Malrang did dash forward, but doesn't connect. Rogue able to get the summoner out of the mid lane.
Anything you can do, I can do better. Rogue now going to get this top tier one. They have Herald for a bot tower as well, so this gold lead should start to go in their favor.
Yeah, and this is a big deal for Rogue. They of course do still have the Herald, which they can throw down mid to crack that tower open, get a little bit more control over the map. And as I said, it's a weird one because objectively, when you look at the score, when you look at the gold, when you look at everything, you're sitting there thinking, Rogue's not in a bad spot at all. But it definitely feels much worse for Rogue, given the scaling of the composition that G2 have and how overall G2 is being proactive in the way they're playing the map right now.
Still need to see it in action though. I mean, they have great follow-up. Varus ult on a Seraphine ult on a Senna ult, right? Everything will land on the chain. Jankos can disturb the backline. Just need to see how much DPS they can actually get out. How fast can they get this front line out? How much range can Rogue use to actually nullify that? And how well can Comp play these fights? We haven't really seen Comp too much this series. Of course, game 1, there was not much he could do, but now on this Sivir, he's been farming up. He's up 500 gold, 215, 16 CS now. Towards the 19-minute mark, we'll have 2 items. Just with no flash, it becomes a lot harder against the Wukong.
A lot of people looked at him as one of the all-pro players from the regular season, one of the best AD carries in the league. Unforgiven, obviously, up there alongside him. And here at 2 items with the Phantom Dancer, Kraken Slayer complete, that Sivir can do a lot of work, especially with the ricochets. You have to watch out for the ricochets in fights. They can absolutely shred through any lineup. The difficulty for Rogue is how do you find those fights? We've talked about it. Engage is a little bit lacking. Whether or not they can actually get onto the backline, whether or not if they do get onto the backline, they can get through a Seraphine and a Senna healing up the entirety of G2 is a question that is still yet to be answered.
30 seconds on Dragon. Flakked's going to base. He's going to TP back in. Has a blasting one to pick up. Mid-wave is going to be contested. Looks like BrokenBlade's going bot, so maybe he goes through bot and threatens this bot tier one before he joins the rest of the team. Maybe he can find a flank angle. There's the Herald mid. Now G2 have a lot of single target damage lockdown. If Malrang walks up or Larssen, they can land the chain ultimate. Of course, the Zinza ult will stop a lot of that damage. But their objective here, Rogue, is Dragon. They're just forcing G2 to respond. Now they're going to walk into River, and they're probably going to start it up. Now, what position can G2 get? Comp is no flash. G2 are probably screaming that in comms, and Jankos will be looking for him.
Targamas and Flakked have to go the long way around. BrokenBlade actually first on the Dragon here. You can see Odo catching the wave down towards that bottom side. Doesn't have flash to jump onto someone, but can, of course, slice and dice his way into the pit. Instead, he'll go round down towards the bottom side. Pins and maneuvers. G2 started up the Dragon. Caps looking for Odo. Malrang has Trymbi on his shoulders. 5,000 HP on the Dragon. It resets. Rogue continue to prod and to poke and to see if they can find a way in here. Odo's going to go all the way around to join his team. Jankos won the smite in the last game. Can he win this one again? It looks like it's going to be a 50-50. Jankos has Splash to get away. Malrang gets it down to 3,000. BrokenBlade going forward. Jankos looking for the Cyclone. The Dawning Shadow coming out as well, and Jankos lands the Cyclone on 3, but immediately he's stunned up, locked up, and dead. Malrang with the Crescent Guard will keep himself alive. That Dragon down to 2,000. Yuumi on his shoulders. The damage on the Larssen is huge. But Rogue able to dash away. Malrang trying to escape as well. Won't get in today. G2 secure the Dragon.
The poke was incredible.
Unbelievable, unbelievable damage from G2. They lose their jungler, yet still walk away with the Dragon.
Yeah, Jankos goes in, and he knows Comp has no flash, but he goes a little bit too deep. The Senna ult's good for the shield, but he just gets melted from the stun from Odo. So that turned into a 4v5 stare down as Malrang flashes out. G2 have the confidence to continue. Watch this arrow from Caps. Boom, straight through Larssen and Odo. Takes 50% of their health bars. They're forced out, and then that just means you have to give the objective up.
Yeah, and Malrang, he used his W to try and get a bit of poke out. If he used it over the wall onto the Drake, maybe there was a world Drake could go over and steal it, but G2, they walk away with 3 dragons. They, of course, are still behind in gold, but this is kind of what I was talking about, why the game feels so weird. Rogue are definitely not in a bad position, but it feels like that these fights are just very hard to play.
Caps is showing us what would have happened if Legolas decided to be a mage. Just like, one arrow straight through the eye of Sauron, takes down.
Wise words of Gimli. Still only counts as one.
Would have made the movies a lot shorter as well, wouldn't it?
And we wouldn't have got the surfing scene on the shield.
Oh,
where he surfs
yeah.
down. That was in the books, you know.
Never read the books, but love the
It
films.
would. Yeah. You should definitely read the books. Lord of the Rings series, very good.
Books. With gamers, medic. Come on.
The only book we know is Medjai's and Amplifying Tome, obviously.
The live Netflix adaptation, obviously. Anyway, let's have a look back at the match state right now, because as you can see, G2, they're in a pretty comfortable position still. Even though Rogue have the tower advantage, they have the gold advantage, it's difficult for Rogue to really push any deeper into the enemy jungle right now. There are, of course, no neutrals on the map for them to be able to really play for. We're waiting for the next dragon in 3.5 minutes. The Baron is, of course, up. But both sides continuing to scale for the time being. Comp slowly working towards that Infinity Edge, as G2 now moving to the topside river and contest this mid tower.
I think Rogue have just said we're not going to get mid push ever. It's a bit too difficult right now with Comp having no flash. Let's play for side push. Larssen will push out top, force Caps to respond, then he will move mid, and that's how Rogue can keep juggling these lanes and contesting prio. G2 just getting a little bit of defensive vision. What they want to do now is just stall, wait for that Infernal Soul and take the next fight. They're only going to get stronger. All they really need to do, G2, is just play safe and stop Rogue from doing this right here. Doing a Baron. They need vision on it. They're two-manning it right now with Comp on mid-wave. G2 actually have no idea. We'll see if Jankos
has no wards.
No wards on Jankos.
No way,
Targamas
Targamas has to come across.
No ward
He's got
across.
2 wards on that support item. Puts one in. 8,000
Very
HP
slow.
on it. Stopped. Malrang getting chunked out by it as well. Means that Rogue will just back away. And I will say, Caedrel, I think you kind of cursed us earlier today. We were talking about combined kills per minute across all of the regions. And LEC are sitting at the top in playoffs. I think it was per game, yeah. 31 kills, was it? Per game?
Playoffs.
We've had 4 in 24 minutes.
We have many.
And we've had a few fights as well. It's just no one dies at the end of those
But
fights.
this is why I'm mad at Renekton.
You're mad at
Because
Renekton.
if this was an Ornn,
Yeah.
like, think about how different that Dragon play is. And, like, this is the same issue that I have with Rogue's Comp compared to last game, is, like, when you're playing against a lot of range, you need something that can get onto the back line. Right? You just need something to make it easier for the rest of your team to get there. Because right now, it's all on Malrang. He has to basically be the initiation for Odo to follow up. And it's very awkward unless Odo can find the flank. And we saw in the last fight how Caps was basically just sitting, watching the flank, making sure that Odo wouldn't be able to do it. So Rogue find themselves in this very tricky situation where it's now even harder for them to find a pick compared to last game because they don't have that Sejuani ultimate. And I think that I don't know how Rogue is going to be able to do it. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I'm very concerned right now for Rogue in terms of how they actually get onto Flakked and Targamas and how they stop them from doing what they've been doing so far this series.
The most important thing right now is Comp and his Infinity Edge. It's 1 minute on the Dragon. If he can get these mid-waves, get Raptors, get absolutely anything and get that third item, then I think Rogue still have a chance. So about 200-300 gold off, so he needs another wave at least before he can complete it. Then he's going to have to run back out on the map, and then they're going to have to contest the setup, which G2 should be first to if he does have to base. So we'll keep our eyes on Comp and his items for now, because that's exactly what Rogue are saying. They want to stall for that. Maybe a Larssen Banshee's TP back would be ideal as well. Get the 3-item spikes for this Dragon, deny it from G2 and keep the game going. That's the state that Rogue wants to be in.
Gotta look for that Dragon. 42 seconds on it. Rogue will want to fight G2, get the mid lane prio. Caps coming to join the rest of his team. BrokenBlade up towards the top side does have the TP. Rogue, they're looking to do to G2 what G2 did to them after that Rift Herald play. Set up a bait bush, see if you can pull G2 into a bad situation.
Comp won't have it in time. You can't base 20 seconds before a Dragon, especially when you have set up. So
How much gold is he sitting on, mate?
yeah, needs this he can just get this wave and base for it, but he doesn't have time. I mean, Flakked's just going to TP back. They're going to go through bot here, G2, not even going to contest the mid push, and Rogue cannot give this up. They have to win the Smite fight at the very least. Otherwise, an Infernal Soul, Varus poke, Seraphine, Aatrox, it's going to make the game incredibly hard.
One of the big differences this fight compared to last fight is Odoamne does have the flash this time around.
Comp 2.
Everyone has their summoner spells on both sides. Here comes BrokenBlade. Keep your eyes on it. Malrang flashes in.
Final chapter. Cap's going to flash away. The encore coming in. Hits onto Malrang. Crescent Guard going to keep him alive. The cycling going to the back line as well. Rogue trying to retreat. All hell the retreat. Comp takes one. Already BrokenBlade is down. Rogue restart the Dragon. G2 backing away. Cap still looking for the damage from long range. But the healing and the shielding from that Yuumi is enough. The slide in. Immediate stun onto Larssen. Pops a stopwatch. Yuumi dodges off his shoulders. Flash away by Larssen. Dragon still aggro. TP coming back in by Odoamne. He had to retreat and rejoin this fight.
The poke misses. Larssen still has ult. He was looking for a shuffle, but I think Flakked rooted him as he went for it. The root's going to miss onto Comp. It's a 4v5. G2 could lose the entire game here if they try to contest that, and they're going to smartly back away. Rogue win the fight and they get the Dragon.
The biggest blunder there was BrokenBlade diving onto the backline. G2's biggest strength is their range, and Rogue saw an opportunity to tear that apart. They get the kill onto BrokenBlade, they secure themselves the Drake, and they're still in this game.
Oh, such a stressful fight for both teams. If Odo fell here, I think G2 might have just won the game. Let's watch Odo's health bar as the fight progresses, because you're completely right, Vedius. BrokenBlade goes deep, but Odoamne does a similar sort of thing, trying to look for a disengage. And now watch his HP bar. So incredibly low by the burst of Caps, but it just lives, so he can TP back and make it a 5v4. And then Larssen here tries to go in, but I think it's the root from Flakked that stops him. Whew. I think that was a flash ult right there.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. You know, that's Moat Tread's value from Odoamne if I've ever seen it. The fact that he was able to just flash out there, the damage from G2.
Steel Caps.
Wait, oh my god, it doesn't even have it. Wow, oh my god.
Legend tenacity in the runes.
Now, I think Rogue are going to put their foot on the gas.
Would have been much better,
Rogue's going to speed this game up now, because with a Varus and a Seraphine and a Senna, no flash, and you have things like a Renekton and Azir, a Sivir ult with a Yuumi, they need to start Baron and turn if they want to find a way back into this game, because yes, you could stall till the next Dragon, but do you really want to just risk this game on a 5v5? I think they should start forcing.
Rogue already tried to pull off one sneaky Baron in this game, didn't work for them, but as you say, they want to put their foot down on the gas and try and accelerate this game away from G2. G2 still in a strong position. They have 3 items on their Seraphine. Caps is sitting at 2.5 with that Rift Maker and the Nash's Tooth, and we've seen what that poke can do, but the healing from the Yuumi with the Moonstone seems to be starting to overcome some of that poke. Tower will fall in the mid lane. G2's third of the game. Gold even between these two teams as we get towards that 30-minute mark.
I do think it's quite interesting, the itemization differences we see between Larssen and Caps when it comes to the Azir. When we watch Caps play, he is playing Crown into then full damage, whereas from Larssen, he's actually running the Ludens into then more defensive options.
It feels like Crown would be pretty awful this game though, right? Because you just get it poked off immediately.
I mean, for sure. It's just interesting in how they different approach, because I think that Caps' whole philosophy is the way he uses Crown is I'm going into melee range
and then
to do as much damage as possible.
I have that window of less damage.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Larssen is a lot more about playing back, leveraging his front line to then try and chip away at his opposition, and then trying to be a lot more defensive and making sure that he stays alive throughout the entire fight. We'll see if Larssen is able to dish out the needed damage to be able to come out on top. 4-1 of the kills. The goal is pretty much dead even. G2 still find themselves at soul point. You can see the poke damage that has come out from Caps has been astronomical.
And Comp's never been in a position to dish out the damage the way Sivir would, which is you hit a front line and the ricochets bounce and they bounce and they bounce and they bounce, and people get chipped away at by the Sivir. I was wondering whether Comp was, topping those damage charts, but poke at the moment, beating out consistent DPS when it comes to these team fights.
So now Rogue actually have position in mid and top side. They have vision, they have Odoamne up here, they have QSS on comp, ready for that Varus ult or a Seraphine ult or some kind of Senna route if it lands onto him. I think this is their window to take this top side vision and look for a start. They should have flash timers. They know they have about a 15 to 30 second window. If they don't take this window, then they're going to have to wait for the next dragon. I don't think they can force a Baron when G2 have all their sums up, and it looks like that window's closed.
5 seconds on the flash from Flakked. 5 seconds on the heal from Trymbi. The heal coming up from Targamas at exactly the same time as Trymbi's. Now both those heals are back up and available. 3 seconds on the flash from Malrang. Summoner spells slowly coming their way back online. Dragon spawns in about a minute and a half. Items continue to be completed. And ultimately this game will be decided by the fights. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of these fights are very awkward for both sides.
Yeah. It's just not conventional team fights, right? Like usually we, especially at the moment, we're used to AD carry hits the front line for a while, other AD carry hits the front line for the while. They both jump away from anyone that dives.
Both ults,
exactly.
You know, Sivir, Zeri, they do the zoomy-zooms. Like that's typically what we're used to seeing. But now it's all about the poke battle almost. Which top laner is going to sacrifice themselves first to be able to get in range? The junglers are both, well, while being tanky, incredibly squishy. It's a tense one for sure.
It's a poke battle, but it's also a flank battle because now BrokenBlade has GA. If he can buy time for his team while they can start to step forwards, you know, if a Varus can step up and have the confidence in the space to ult flash onto an Azir and Q, he's basically dead. Luckily for Larssen, he has things like the Zhonya's to negate a lot of that, but you get the idea, right? If BrokenBlade can start buying time on flanks, or if Odoamne can flank Flakked and force him out of a fight so they split up, that's what a flank causes. It causes your team to split up. And once you're split up in this comp of G2, that's when Rogue can start to pick you apart. So they need to stay together, go through bot together, stay behind Jankos, and maybe, just maybe, their range will help them in these fights. Larssen and comp on those 3 item spikes this time around. We're setting up for round 2 of the Infernal Soul.
3 seconds on it. It's going to spawn in Infernal Chains. Dodged away by Odoamne there. He's got a Yuumi on his shoulder. A cat in the bag, it seems. G2 start up the dragon once again. It's a similar playbook to every other time before. They might just look for the 50-50. They might just look for the smite fight. BrokenBlade on it right now. Jankos down to 3,000 HP. Malrang kept to arm's length. The final chapter coming out. Jankos gets it! Infernal Soul secured. And now Odoamne diving onto the back line is already dead. G2 can open up, but BrokenBlade needs that GA to bring him back. Cats, what poke you got? You're in a 4v3 situation right now until that GA brings back BrokenBlade. The slide in by Larssen, but he only catches BrokenBlade. That's one. Stopwatch coming out as well. Malrang low. He's going to pop a stopwatch of his own. Comp trying to get in with the damage, but Comp will fall. Targamas and Flakked versus 3 from Rogue. Malrang rooted up, Malrang healed. The healing from the Yuumi is absurd, but so is Targamas. A triple for Seraphine, and G2 come out on top.
It's only the supports that live. 8 members die in total, but the most important thing is that G2 get the Infernal Soul, and the Senna might just get this bot tier 2. The Yuumi has no one to hug onto, no one to hold onto. She just has to watch this bot tower fall. So many clutch plays came through, but that smite may have just won them the game.
What chaotic team fighting by Jankos. He just comes up clutch. He's done it multiple times this series, being able to secure these smites. If we can get a slow-mo observers, just as Jankos and Malrang contest for this dragon, I'd love to see how low it gets. Because here we go. Oh my god, so did the smite come out early? It looked like a huge chunk of damage down to 500 HP. Jankos then secures it. We see Odoamne dive onto the backline. He gets melted. Jankos is the same. He then gets melted. And then at this position, you think Rogue, they can win the team fight.
Let's watch Larssen in slow-mo as well, because, I wonder what happened with his flash there. He did use it. I wonder if he tried to predict them, but I'm not actually sure which direction the flash went in. I don't know if his full WEQ went off, but then it was just Targamas and Flakked versus 3, and they decided to go for Flakked over Targamas. Could have been a mistake. Flakked only had 1 combo left of mana, but that was enough to get a double from the Leandris, I believe, and the damage from Targamas.
Yeah. Oh my god, the bot lane from G2. I can't believe that it was 2 supports that ended up living at the end there. That's just the damage from the last fight, and you can see that Rogue is definitely not lacking in that department, but Odoamne may be losing his life.
BrokenBlade looking for the chase here. World Ender popped. Odo still has flash. Maybe G2 don't know that he still has the flash from the last fight. He will burn it to get away from the chain of corruption and escape. Manages to avoid death.
Oh, Targamas got
it as well.
They TP in. Odo can just join this.
No TP for BrokenBlade.
They know the G2 all on the bottom side. Caps doesn't have TP either as G2 need to try and answer. Jankos looking for the steal. Already got 2 so far this series. Instead, he looks for Odoamne, takes him out. Jankos able to escape as well somehow. Now can he dive back in? Doesn't have the flash, doesn't have the decoy. But that Baron is low. 5 taken by Malrang. Rogue start to retreat. Malrang will sacrifice himself to try and get the rest of his team out, but the Dawning Shadow will stop the ports. Larssen dodging across, diving across, Comp caught out. 3 members of G2 here, but Comp just opens up the boomerangs. Absolutely melt. Rogue get 3 Barons out alive.
Yeah, G2 had no ults to chase with. They use Senna ult aggressively. They might look for a pick here, Rogue, but Comp throws the boomerang and gives away the play. So, Rogue lose 2 members. They take down Jankos, but they get away with a Baron.
I don't know what's going on in this game, boys. Really good awareness there from Rogue. Odoamne being massive bait in the bot lane allows Rogue this window. But I was worried for Rogue. The second Odoamne dropped, I thought that G2 was just going to dominate that fight. But let's keep our eyes on how this fight played out.
Odoamne's HP bar gets taken incredibly low, and he does fall, but Jankos gets stunned just before he dies, so that forces him to W away, and I think Malrang screaming at Larssen here, finish, 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 because they know Jankos is low and he has to recover from Senna, and Seraphine gets it in time. Malrang no flash, and let's watch Targamas here as he falls. He tries to snipe them with his ult to stop recalls, but Larssen dashes over the wall, and then they think they can chase Comp, but it's only Jankos and Caps, and we saw Caps use the ultimate in bot looking for Odo. He can't really offer much.
Wukong used the W to actually close the gap onto Comp. They think they can close that one out, but no one was close enough to Jankos. Jankos didn't really have anything, so he ended up losing his life. Rogue walk away with 3 Barons off the back of that. The gold is dead even, but honestly, at this point, it doesn't really matter. It all comes down to the execution of these team fights. The Elder spawns in 2 minutes' time. Can Rogue use this Baron to take any more on the map away from G2?
It's going to be hard to look for any towers. I don't think they can overcommit past the river right now. I think Rogue's best option is the Elder fight. Of course, it doesn't matter what soul you have, doesn't matter how many items you have. If they get Elder, they're going to win the fight. So G2 will be on the back foot for a little bit, playing defense, clear the waves, which will be Baroned up. Maybe Rogue can look for a top tier 2 to rotate into, but it's not really worth it at this point in the game. The gold doesn't really matter. It's all about setup vision and not getting caught out. And Rogue keeps setting up traps. G2 own the bot side. Rogue own the top side. It's a stare down.
Larssen has just finished his Rabadon's death cap as well. A little bit of gold that matters there in the mid lane. No Rabadons yet. The Caps still only sitting on a single needlessly large rod. Caps can get that Rabadon's, that poke hurts even more, but he instead decided Void Star first to deal with some of the magic resist that's coming out from Rogue. You can see Force of Nature on Odo, Malrang, of course with the Merc Treads as well. Makes a lot of sense to get that. Rogue though, as they own the top side with the Baron buff, can just push in.
Need to be careful though, they have 1 minute on this Elder. If they get caught out topside and they get chased down and G2 have an angle on this Dragon, it's just going to get rushed down, so they shouldn't stay here for too long. Comp.
Spell should use, there's the root, the Encore coming out as well. Jankos gets in! The shutdown! The slide away with the Emperor's Divide keeps Larssen alive for the moment as he dodges away. Do you look to turn this one around? The Sundisk coming out, stopwatch from Larssen. BrokenBlade keeping the rest of Rogue busy off towards the side, and Jankos claims his second of the fight. They overstepped, they overstayed, and they were punished. Slapped down by G2. TP to the bottom lane.
And just like that, in the blink of an eye, G2 might just end this game out of nowhere. There's a reason G2 has been to 10 finals. There's a reason that they have 9 titles, and they're going to punish any mistake you make. G2 pushing onto the Nexus.
Comp's flash was 10 seconds away, but while it is up, your team is not. The TPs are coming through from G2. Only Odoamne stands in the way of putting G2 to match point.
First Nexus tower, the target Odoamne trying to survive here, has the Yuumi on his shoulder. But that cat will not help you with that. G2 take a decisive win in the top lane and take us to match point.
1 game away from the finals, G2. Really good execution on that top fight. Comp just overstepping a little bit, very low range AD carry with Dragon spawning. The comms must have been really hectic from Rogue. Dragon spawning, do we siege this top tier 3? G2s seem pretty smooth and sailing. Just go straight onto Sivir.
I mean, you called it. One small mistake and G2 are going to look to pounce on it, and just like that, they saw Comp take 1 too many hits. The range really hurt him there. He was trying to get hits down onto the tower. He overstepped ever so slightly, and that small mistake was immediately blown up into a massive teamfight win for G2.
Must be a really frustrating game for Rogue there as well, because yes, you gave over the soul, so the game felt really almost out of your hands because of how much power it gives you to the enemy team. But with Dragon, Elder in 1 minute, and you have control of the map with Baron, you can set up and actually get a good team fight.
Yeah, but it felt like they had the Baron, they knew they had a temporary buff, and they wanted to accelerate the game. You said they needed to put their foot on the gas a little bit. They were trying to do that, and all it takes is a misstep against this comp. They have so much CC, so much lockdown. They've got the slows from the Rylai's, from the Seraphine on top of that. It just becomes so difficult for Rogue to play out those comps, and now we have to see what Rogue's next answer is, because they picked the Azir, that was answered by the Varus, didn't really change too much, but that Seraphine Senna bot lane is causing them problems.
I think they go back blue side again and first pick Azir, run it back. I don't think there's too much to read into this Varus pick. They seem to be able to shut it down through lane phase. The biggest question I have is the Renekton. Is the Renekton really worth this much prio?
It's not.
It was the same last week as well.
I think the answer is no for Rogue. The Azir, the Varus pick didn't seem to do that much this game. Yes, it had a lot of poke, but it didn't seem like a game-deciding pick.
Agreed,
and I really feel like it was the Senna Seraphine that was the biggest problem.
Okay, guys, I have to hand it over to the analyst test, but do we think they're sitting or standing? Caedrel?
Standing.
Ready? I'm going to say standing because it might be the final game. Sjokz, Treatz, Guldborg, take it away. Standing by at the analyst desk.
Kind of. I guess we were actually sitting. We were actually sitting. G2, though, they are standing up in this series. It was all over very fast after what was quite a back-and-forth game in many aspects of it. I'd like to pick the talking point about the Seraphine and the Senna up for sure, but I also want to talk about the Varus just a little bit. I know it's been said, but Caps does love to play it, especially into Azir. But what's the setup in the runes?
So, I mean, it's just like, I feel like it's pretty standard in terms of what you get out of Varus. So you just go for that lethal, or not lethal tempo, but Hail of Blades. Like, it's so quickly to just stack up your passive. When the passive is stacked up, well, then it's easy to get your spells through. Going for the Taste of Blood, yeah, it makes sense. Zombie Ward's just the best out you can get out of the rest of them. And having that ultimate on CD, yes, you need it. Minion Deterrorizer to get mid lane priors. You can just sap a minion quickly, move first if you need to, and of course CDR is always what you want to go in the inspiration.
Yeah, and in general, I think the runes just help him sustain through early game, right? His early game gets so much stronger with this rune setup, and I think the AP Varus is kind of like a late game machine. When he has 3 items, he kind of one-shots on the ult. He didn't really do it this game, to be honest, but I think he did have some good ults which spread and added some extra CC.
And the context is just that Caps has played this a lot as solo queue, and especially into the Azir. Not only that, Larssen has also played it in solo queue and into the Azir as well. So this is a known pick. But in terms of what it actually did in this game, I don't think it did too much, and I know you've thought there was other responses that would have worked better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the Varus really made or break, make or break this game. I think they could have went for something like the Swain as well. Just anything that's kind of like a team fighty mage, I think would have been good.
As long as it had range, it would have been fine.
Yeah, and what sucks for Rogue in that context is that, like, okay, we now need to think about it, but it didn't really influence the game. It was many other things. Do you agree with what the casters there set up in terms of it's the Renekton that's an issue and the prio on it, and also the bot lane?
I completely agree, because what happens when you have a Varus, if he played against Dawn, you can't go Varus here, because then all of a sudden there's long range engage, you have the Azir to follow up, but when you have the Renekton, that's why Varus wants to come through. Renekton hate playing against a range champion. Renekton hates playing against stuff that locks him down, and they just get to play around, sit on the backline, and pick and poke forever.
Yeah, I think the G2 comp is just very, very long range and very hard to deal with for Renekton. I think that, like, Rogue is trying to build a front-to-back comp, but then they have Renekton there. I don't really see the point. I think it does have a strong early game, obviously, but like the early game is not really a big point of talk right now. I think it's just down to the team fights, and Renekton is just not that strong there.
Yeah, all I've been hearing here today, but also in the rest of FLICKR is range, 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 and just especially because obviously it's always important, but some teams really lacking in their draft comparatively. We need to move on, GB. I'd like to take a look at some team fights that I'll gladly give to you. G2 is dragon stacking rather. This is where it doesn't go well. So what changes from this one to the next one we're going to
Yeah, so I think this one is just a bit sloppy on all parts, even though Malrang gets a really good engage, gets flashed out. Flakked ultimate barely does anything. You hold on to that here, that has way more value. The problem is BB gets instantly blown up as well by the rest of them. And this fight could have gone way worse had G2 not had a composition where you play so much range.
Yeah, and here you kind of see the weakness of the AP Varus, I think. Without the ult and without being able to stack a bunch of stacks and one shot with the Q, I think the pick just doesn't have much value, right? So he misses his combo here on Malrang to maybe almost one-shot him here, I would say. But, and then he just has no gas left in the tank, and they just have to kind of disengage it.
It's an easy comp to pylon when there's nothing punishing you, right? Because it's so sustainable as well, with the Senna heals, with the Seraphine heals, on top of the shielding as well. And because of that, they're allowed to stick around and make small mistakes.
And I guess from the side of Rogue, the task is in that, okay, you can't allow them to get that healing in, so you need to one-shot someone, ideally. And we see that they can, right? And we've seen it, how powerful the Sivir can be also. But in the next fight, then G2 rectify the situation. So what goes better for them here, and what goes different on the side of Rogue, Treatz?
I think in general, just G2, they don't want to mess up in the team fight, to be honest. Like, they just want to play it slow front to back, and look for the angles with Jankos where they can one-shot someone. So whenever you see them close together and they can just heal and shield and poke, that's when they drive.
And I think as well here, they play into the win condition. You see Renekton forced to walk up towards their face immediately. Once again, Flakked ultimate goes a bit wide here and doesn't turn on too many. It pops the Banshee as well. But it's still the fact that you can just sit on so long range, you can still sustain as you're talking about. And now with an Infernal Soul on top of that, matters just gets way worse for Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, Jankos went for the steal, right? So he kind of got isolated and died. So I think that gave an avenue back for Rogue in this team fight. I think they did have a good front to back here, right? The Azir was doing a lot of damage, the Sivir was doing a lot of damage, and it came down to this really clutch moment here where Flakked's Q just kills Q, I believe. So it was really down to the wire, and I said this as well in the desk or in the back room. Like, I've never seen a Yuumi survive a team fight, right? Yuumi as the sole survivor, that's a first for me.
That's crazy. That is a strong cat. We're going to take a look at the final fight as well, because I think Rogue showed signs of life, unfortunately, too late in this game, especially with the dragon stacking. They did manage to get a Baron after all as well, but here is where they overpush.
Yeah, I mean, Comp just doesn't have flash here, right? Like, I think if he has flash, it's fine to play this aggressive, but he's just getting caught out here. He has no...
4 versus 5.
Yeah, no flash, 4 versus 5, and they have a bunch of roots on the side of G2, so I think it was just a big overstep here.
Yeah, and I also think just like, when they get that Baron, I think that's a good indicator that Rogue are doing quite a few things right, despite matters not going too well for them. They are finding their windows, but they don't have the avenue to get much more out of that. And when it then comes to the team fighting, as you said yourself as well there, no flash on the Sivir, just easy to pick that up.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. The air conditioning. In any case, for Rogue with their backs against the wall, as you say, they do try to kind of problem solve in the situation, but it's not enough. They'll be on blue side once again. Before we dive into the discussion about the next game, Targamas this series, 3-0 and 23, 100% kill participation.
Second time in a row.
Yeah, which was funny because we, this is over the series. But we were talking about BrokenBlade actually when we were watching the game, and he was like 0-3-0, 35 minutes into the game, but he finally got an assist, I think, or a kill.
Yeah, he got the last kill, I think. Yeah,
He got a
we
kill.
were like, nice
That's
one,
when I knew
BB.
it was over, when BB finally picked up a kill.
He finally
I knew
picked up a
G2 had
kill.
it.
So let's look at it then from the perspective of how does Rogue get back in this series. Now, we've seen them do well, right, in best of fives in terms of the full 5 games, fight back also versus Mad. But what do they need to change immediately, Treatz?
I just really want them to have a strong 5v5 comp. Like, just drop the Renekton and ban the Senna, and then just have this kind of a Sivir-Zeri trade. Just ban the Kalista as well to remove some explosiveness out of the side of G2, and I think, yeah, just a stable front to back. Just pick the Ornn maybe pick the Sejuani. Front line, back line, make it easy. I don't like this kind of half-half draft where they have a Renekton with Azir and Sivir. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, just a clear identity to make things easier for them, right? So, I mean, there's not much more to say about it. It seems so simple, and it is. You need something that really gives you the power in the late game to facilitate when you finally get leads.
Yeah, and when it comes to the top lane pick, as Medic pointed out, it's also something that we saw last week from Rogue, right? The proficiency, which word am I looking for?
Yeah,
no native English speakers on the desk. Never mind. Yes, their preference for the Renekton. Speaking about Worlds, both of these teams, of course, have locked their spot already at Worlds, but you can do the same because registration for pre-sale tickets for Worlds 2022 is now open. Tickets for the most stagers are available starting September 6th for MasterCard holders, September 7th for verified fans, and September 8th for the general public. You can check out lolesports.com for more dates and details, and also how you can get that verified fan status. So, is G2 closing out the series, the next one, yes or no?
Yes. I think so.
Yeah, okay, well, then that's right. We'll see if G2 is able to close it out or if Rogue can come back in this series. Please, Rogue, give us some more games, but we'll be back with Game 3 after the break.
I love this.